Hi everyone, let's talk about the cycle of urbanization. So first, you have to know two key terms. Number one is the urbanization. Urbanization is defined as the process in which the proportion of people living in urban areas increases. And because there's only two types of settlements, urban areas and rural areas, this can happen in two ways. Number one is when your population in your urban areas increases and the population in your rural areas decreases. Number two is the rate of increase, and if the rate of increase of population in urban areas is higher than that of the rural areas, then you get a ratio shifting towards the urban side. The next definition is urban growth, and this can happen in two ways. Number one is the physical expansion of an urban area, so actually building houses, building roads and concrete. And number two is the increase in absolute population numbers, so increasing population from 500,000 to 1 million. I actually use this definition, both of them, in my actual examination, so it's a pretty cool thing. So let's move on to our actual cycle and process now. The first starting thing that sparked the initiative is rural to urban migration. Basically, movements from rural areas to urban areas, and this is caused by a bunch of migration theories, so check out my migration playlist if you haven't already. So rural people move to urban areas, they increase the population there, they have to build housing for them, so you get urban growth. However, there's evaluation with this. Rural to urban migration may not have always happen or may happen in a lesser extent than you would expect. This is because of the role of constraints, obstacles, and barriers which prevent or limit certain types of migrants. Moving on, after your migrants have moved in, suburbanization might occur. Suburbanization is the expansion of a city area beyond the city center and engulfing surrounding areas. You see this in Atlanta in the US, where there's development of a bunch of suburbs due to urban sprawl. And this is caused by improvements in transport, and it's cheaper in the city outskirts because there's less competition for land. And this is necessary because you have a lot of people moving in from rural to urban migration, and therefore you need to expand your area. The evaluation for this, however, is that suburbanization may not always happen because of a thing called green belts. In the UK specifically, cities such as London have a green belt around them, so areas where you cannot develop at all, which essentially just limits an area to what it is and prevents any further urban sprawl and suburbanization. After you suburbanize, you might get counterurbanisation. This is because when your city is very big, you get mega cities perhaps, a lot of issues start coming up, such as the high cost of living or traffic congestion, and perhaps there might be crimes. There's also such things such as the development of technology, like Wi-Fi, so you don't have to work in the city center. You can work in the outskirts if you want. And this causes counterurbanization, which is the movement from urban areas to rural areas, which is the reverse of the first process. And this is an example of a centrifugal migration, so it's moving away from the center. If you learn physics, it makes much more sense, but centrifugal is away from the center. And this means your population may decrease. However, evaluation here again, natural increase in the city itself, so the birth rate, may offset the population decline caused by counterurbanization. After you counterurbanize, you might get reurbanization, which is a centripetal movement. So centripetal is towards the center. Reurbanization is movement towards the city center or back into cities. And this is caused by urban renewal and redevelopment, which is basically improving an urban area to resolve these issues and in hopes of attracting more people to come in. And this does happen, but it also may not, because renewal may displace people. To actually redevelop a city center or city itself is quite difficult because people already live there. You have to evacuate people out, you have to displace people in order to redevelop that. And when you do that, people have to migrate out. And also, the areas become much more expensive because it's new, and therefore you generally get richer people going there and not poorer people, and therefore there's some issue with inequality as well. And you can see basically reurbanization is kind of similar to the first process, rural to urban migration, because it's moving back into the city. So basically you can just draw an arrow from reurbanization back to rural to urban migration, and that repeats the cycle, and that is the cycle of urbanization. So that sums it up. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next video.